everybody, so today we're going to be reading Monsters, My Friends, Creepypasta X Beast Listener up in here. So, before I start, I would like to remind you guys that these are not in chapters, so I will just be doing South, Southern, West, Western, etc. So, for the recap, I'm going to keep it as short as possible because it's kind of long, but anyways, we are currently in, the West chapter. But I'm gonna go backtrack to the Southern chapter because that's the purpose of the recap. You know what I'm saying? So first things first. Basically, because I remember pretty much everything, pretty much, and pretty much. Okay, so if you guys remember, Ben, Jeff, technically I'll add Smile Dog because he went with them. Smile Dog and moi went to find one of the vigilantes' hideouts or something, where they kept something hidden there, and basically they found themselves, they got the location, and they found themselves at this abandoned village. It's not even a city, I would just say rather village, and it looked really abandoned and old, and looked like, you know, it was still somehow people there, but it was old and not really, you know, connected to any other outside cities and stuff like that, pretty much how they described it. And basically they landed on this beautiful kind of green or pinkish house, and they had like flowers and all that type of stuff. They sent moi and Smile Dog to go search for how they could get inside the house without being noticed. They found this back door leading to the like basement or something like that. And we found it, but technically, but Smile got the praise, and we're like, how dare you, this ugly ass, you know the works. And pretty much, long story short, they went down there, had some, pokey funnies at Jeff, because Jeff is a little bit dumb. He's a little bit dumb, sweethearts. He's a little dumb. And Ben also was kind of fucking with him too, because it's hilarious. They basically ended up finding an entrance to where they would meet this old military woman or something like that. Somehow knew Jeff's actual name, which is Jeffrey something Woods. And pretty much she sent a big bark dog to attack us, and then it's not like an order, it's like a big machine dog, and pretty much Jeff and Smile Dog and you kind of had to deal with it, while Ben was kind of hacking the systems and everything, while the lady was like kind of just like, you guys can never get through our system. You will die here. We're just testing out a new little toy. Long story short, the robot ended up dying. And lady ended up dying. Ben self-destructed the place, and it was going to explode in like 7 or some minutes, or 20, 30 minutes. And Jeff was like, we don't have enough time to escape. And he's like, well, I wish you guys luck. And basically, yeah, they kind of had to escape, and they all agreed simultaneously to kill Ben as fast as possible. As soon as they got out of there, take revenge. And that we ended up getting out of there, all thankfully, before it actually exploded. You, Smile Dog, Jeff, and, you know, yeah, that's a long story short. I did miss some really good details, but you guys should just totally watch my other video that I did on this series to find out what exactly happened. It is hilarious. I promise you guys, it is hilarious. Anyways, also, if you hear some background noises, that's just because, I'm in another state right now, so, finding a quiet place is a little harder than one seems to think, but yeah, I tried, you know, I'm trying, so if y'all hear any background noises, I completely apologize. Anyways, now we can get to the actual current chapter that we are on, which is West. Okay, yeah, so there will be a lot of mentions. So there will be mentions of blood, violence, gore, religious type of things, with voodoo and supernatural type of things mixed into it. There will also be mentions of like some, okay, so I'm gonna call this the exorcism type of thing, because it sounds like it comes from the exorcism, but it's not from the exorcism. And it's not like there's an actual exorcism being performed, it's just they act like the person who got possessed by a demon and stuff like that. You'll understand when you get into the story, I promise. And then there will be mentions there will be like sounds of like probably bullets and stuff like that. So if you guys are uncomfortable with that, I really suggest you do not watch this video because there will probably be plenty of it, like the last series was. And if I forgot any extra warnings or anything like that, I will put them on the screen right now. You guys have been warned. Alright, by the way, before I actually continue this, remember this will be a different group which may or may not involve us. So Jeff, Ben, and us and Smile Dog may not be in these groups. Before you guys get confused, these will probably be completely different characters. There, y'all have been warned. Okay, anyways. West. Sally clears her throat loudly, taking a seat beside Ben. Pompon should come with me. I found him first. Bullshit. Jack blatantly interrupts, his usual composure cracking. He takes a deep breath. Fuzzball saved me twice already. It should come with me. Sally gasps. Jack said a bad word. Sunder's forehead creased, adapting a stern expression.
Jack, how many times must I tell you to watch your profanity?
Jack's body felt rigid. His voice held disbelief. He jabbed a finger in Sally's direction. She's like 60 years old. Sally gasped dramatically, a hand placed firmly against her chest. I honestly wanted to be surprised by such a notion, but considering a little girl is having a conversation chilly with a faceless legend and a demon cannibal thing, I think it is best to accept every piece of information, for my sanity's sake. Sunder rubbed his temples.
If both of you are going to continue arguing, I will assign you to the same group. No complaining. With this, the two of you may accompany this beast.
The two stood swift and silently. Sparks flew between their shared glare, marching to the door with even strides, but halting before opening it. Both heads turned simultaneous, blankly eyeing me with intent. A silent command to follow. The mission has not begun, and I already can feel the sweat beat forming on my body. I am slightly worried for the team's compatibility. Seed Eater waited patiently before the deck, his composure brightening as we approached, scuttling over to Jack with anticipation. I've got Seed Eater, so you ride Fizzball. Jack stroked Seed's face, earning a distorted purr from the beast, but we swap on our way back. Alrighty then. Sally brushed off Jack's commanding words, waving her hand in disinterest. Her eyes, however, held a flame, a sinister smile forming with irritation. Pom-Pom, can you help me up? I knelt with haste, allowing the little girl to use my leg as a stool. She bore quite the sinister smile. She bore quite the sinister smile, a look far too cheerful for the atmosphere. Once stable upon my back, Sally giggles, a sound I would have found charming had I not discovered her conduct. Jack too looks put off, his stoic expression twitching under the child's strong stare. He opts to cover his discomfort with his mask, securing the leather straps around his head tightly. He sighs, setting a firm grip on Seed Eater's mane. Just make sure you hold tight. That one is faster than it looks. Oh, I think I know. Sally shot up, ripping my hair with a great amount of force. Last one there is a moldy maggot bag. Who thinks of these things? Call it childish all you want. I oblige her command for a race. Jack may have admitted I am fast, but he still commented on first meeting my overly round body. I may still be slightly bitter about it. Jack is caught off guard, sitting stunned in a cloud of dirt. He almost tumbled off of Seed's back, his shock allowing his grip to loosen just enough to give him a jolt as Seed Eater charged after. Seed is swift on his feet. He gained up on me quicker than I thought a creature so overly malnourished in appearance could, his hollow eyes sparkling brightly with determination and childish excitement. With a smile, I picked up my pace, my elongated legs pushing themselves to the max. I am fortunate to have teamed with these three. Out of everyone I have met so far, they are the most chill, the most expecting. I just hope I can equally compete with the pros. The feeling of certainty is short-lived. A cold drop of liquid seeped between my face and mask, uncomfortably gliding between the feathers on my face like a chilling bead of sweat. The humidity dropped drastically, prompting an end to the fun. Great, just what we needed. Jack grumbled, his focus directing to the sky. He grits his teeth and growled, following the sound of the falling rain. The mizzing came quick, drenching everyone within mere minutes of the shower. Of course, I remained unbothered by the direct drench, only feeling irritation of the small driblets that sneaked its way under my mask. No one complained for the cold. The group's resistance to nature appears to level one another. None spared a whisper, even as the ground produced a heavy haze. In fact, our breath is stifled. Excuse me. In fact, our breaths stifled. My steps subconsciously lightening against the damp mirror. Jack is the first one to dismount, sneaking low and slow on all fours in a complicated inhuman manner. He tilts his head left and right before standing, no longer hiding his presence as he returns to our side. This place is not guarded. I can't hear anything strange, but I can smell traces of humans who came this way recently. Jack shakes his head, his gaze lowering to his feet. I can't be certain, but I think there is one of us in there. Not if it's anyone we know, but it's best to keep our eyes open. This got complicated. Not only do we have to eliminate a whole squad of vigilantes, this is now a rescue mission also. Sally looked perplexed, her nose scrunching with thought. Guess Mr. Slenderman would be mad if we left some behind. She sighs loudly, groaning through clenched lips. Jack looked just as unruffled. Despite his mask blocking any expression, his composure stands nonchalant. I think he cares so little he may fall asleep on his feet. However, the rain seems to have started to bothering him. His hair is matted, raven hoodie is soaked up and down, jeans weighted heavy by the H2O and stuck to his legs. The usual black substance falling from his eye sockets is washed away without notice. Sally, however, looked just as she did when we left the mansion. The numerous droplets missing her phone completely, as dry as summer evening. You can tell she knows Jack's discomfort with the way her eyes smile with satisfaction when he adjusts his neckline, shaking driplets of water off of the front of his clothing before it has a chance to be absorbed by the fabric. Okay. Seed, however, is at his limit. His body shook violently, vibrating water from the top of his mane into his exposed skin. Poor guy is soaked to the bone. We made eye contact. He held my gaze firmly as he shoveled closer to my flank, pressing his body as close to me as possible, judging my reaction as to not cross any boundaries. I allowed him to snuggle close, of course, shuffling with acceptance as he cramps his nuzzle into the junction between my chest and neck. He is really trying to soak up as much body heat as he can. I suppose his species is not accustomed to long-term exposure of water. Jack, your smelly man-bear is molesting Pom-Pom! Sally shrieks, covering her mouth with the palm of her hand when she realizes just how loud she was. Jack shook his head, his gaze narrowing at the girl's accusation. He is not. Fuzzball likes Seed, so they are cuddling. It is perfectly normal for animals to share body heat. In fact, I think they are adorable together. Okay. He's like, in fact, I think they're adorable. Jack finished his sentence with crossed arms, a snobbish huff. Only a complete and utter inconsiderate phantom would separate two lonely beasts from one another. Nuh-uh! Only a meanie monster man would keep these two together. Seed could hurt Pom-Pom. He is delicate and clumsy, and he likes me more than you. Sally raced to my side, almost crashing into Seed's face as she wrapped her arms around my neck. Right, Pom-Pom? You like me more than mean old Jack, right? Oh, please. Fuzzball is anything but delicate. You should have seen the way it tore into a corpse, or the way it tanked a bullet when it came to rescue me. Jack also wrapped an arm around my neck, jamming himself between Seed and I, and both piled both our heads to his chest. You can't tell me the three of us don't look perfect together. Sally said nothing, tightening her hold on me. That's not fair, Jack. Only looks good right now because the rain made you all mangy. What the hell does that mean? Pom-Pom just needs to dry off to a fluffy cloud. Maybe give him a bow tie and a top hat. Sally gasped and clasped her hands. A bright pink one. My eye twitched. I am enjoying being the center of attention, but this is going a little overboard. Besides, I can't pick one over the other. Sally is adorable. She likes me unconditionally. Jack is considerate. He was the first to offer food. I did feel compelled to cannibalize the lady for friendship points, though. Would it still be considered cannibalism given my state? What's done is done. It's been a while since I've felt myself die inside. Having two entities fight over who would be a better owner is sucking my soul from my pores. I just want to finish the assignment given to us. Is that too much to ask? Seed Eater has the same idea, moaning loudly with aggression. A sound so crusty, yet crustily dry, yet salivated wet makes me cringe. Cold. We done? Seed looks just as ready to throw himself off of a cliff as I. His eye is far more dead than when he was bound by chains. Give him a few more minutes with these two, and he may have an aneurysm. Sorry about that, Seed. Let's do what we can for now. I'm sure the two of you would rather be undercover right now. I tilt my head at Jack's words. I'm not cold by any means. My hair and feathers are a little heavier than usual, but not so much as a burden. Besides, I don't have an issue with the two to finish their pointless argument. Seed threw his shoulder into mine. His trembling feathers held desperation and pleading. Oh yes, definitely would like to go somewhere dry. I nod my head rapidly. I'm a soggy meatball. Please help. Sally's lips pouted. If she really is in her 60s, she no way acts like it. Jack led us forward. He seems less dependent compared to his desperate plea when Jeff and Ben left him for the park, easily stepping over tripping hazards and around obstacles any other sight-disabled person would have struck. He walks through the downpour as though it is guiding him. I read about someone like that a long time ago. An individual who lost their eyes in a chemical-related incident. But sounds act like an argument. There was a scenario where it was raining too. He could almost see perfectly thanks to the droplets bouncing off of their surroundings. It's here. Jack's head tilted up, staring intently at something behind the blanket of haze. In good shape for a building left to wither, or for almost 3 decades at that. I can't see anything, Sally whined childishly. I have to agree with her on that. I can't see shit in this fog. I must bite my tongue as I got closer, though self-chucked horrifically in a silent hill-ish manner. A large building propelled far out of the eye's reach, both vertically and horizontally. An old hospice, to be precise. Crack-ridden as it is, whatever color it had been throughout the years had vanished in time, leaving a flaky, sad skin. Some windows had been blown in, probably intentionally, yet many stand water-stained but strong, doing their job of keeping out the elements. The other most eye-catching part of this building must be before us, an uncharacteristically tall, rusted iron double doors. I must say, for story's sake, but I want to say it's for story's sake, but I'm sure both Seed and I can fit through together with no issue. Jack approached the door, leaning in so closely, his masked face almost killed the metal. Yes, this is the way in. I can smell residue on the handles. He followed up the comment by tugging the bar handle. When it didn't budge, he reefed on it harder, using all his might to open what is an obviously locked door. Sally opened her mouth to point said problem out, but did so seconds late. Jack's body tumbled back. The handle firmly clutched in his grasp. Sid and I looked at one another. I don't know if I should be impressed or hold my head in shame. Great job, idiot. Sally chewed the man out. He lay too stunned on the muddy ground to refute every word that is thrown at him, stiff and still gripping the handle tight. Eventually, Sally took a deep breath, approaching the door herself, and to my astonishment, phased through the solid material. Worried as I am, I don't know what to do to assist the child. Seed Eater helped Jack to his feet. He looked dazed, shaking his head to regain some sense. He did not look worried, so I figured whatever Sally did is normal. Well, normal in their standards. Moments later, the door clunked on the other side, allowing the heavy set to squeak open. At the entrance stood Sally, leaning against a solid steel beam. Well, I thought you wanted to get out of the rain. This child is amazing in every way. Okay, whatever you say. Western. The interior is a far contrast to the exterior. Not only is the floors, walls, and ceiling intact, there is not a speck of debris in sight. The light fixtures illuminate the hall bright, allowing us to see the numerous solid oak doors lining the walls, all numbered accordingly. It seems my words were correct. Seed Eater and I are indeed able to walk shoulder to shoulder through the passage, not with a lot of room to spare, but comfortably enough to keep up the pace with Sally and Jack. Seed looks claustrophobic. He avoids the wall as much as he can. I must agree with him, though unlike Cedar, I am accustomed to the enclosure. Large being doesn't necessarily belong indoors. From how he has been, and next, from the Slender's mansion, it's safe to assume he has a little experience to being confined. I'm a little concerned of how serious Sally's expression is. She is keeping pace with Jack regardless of the difference in stature. Lots of rooms in here, Jack hissed, inhaling through a scrunched nose. Would expect no less from an institution. Not going to be able to pinpoint a specific direction with all the smells in here. Sally groans, narrowing her emerald eyes with a pout. Jack, we aren't going to look through every single room, are we? Jack's lip twitched at her comment. He too does not seem thrilled at the idea. He tilted his head in thought before turning to the little girl. I don't think we will have to. As long as we find the contained CP, we can get the information. If they don't have any, well, we will cross that bridge when it comes. Don't we have to look through the doors to find the prisoner? Nah. Out of all the smells, I'm sure one of us three can hunt them down. Jack turned to Seed and I. Look for something that smells abnormal, out of place. Seed and I looked at one another, beginning to search with our nozzles in the air. Seed steps forward, pushing past Jack. Sally faced through him, letting out a startled cry and an offended glare. Seed Eater approached one of the doors, using his human-like hands to twist the knob. The material is scrunched by an intentional excessive pressure, but allowed the lock to open. The room is dark, professionally an office-like display. Papers neatly stacked to the oak desk. A pristine burgundy rug fitted to the floor. There is even a potted plant accompanying the corner. No doubt this room is a replica for what is to be seen within all the other doors. What's so important in here? Sally glances over the desk, her eyes widening with interest. Ooh, this belonged to Jack! Stuck in the hall, I tried to peer over the girl's shoulder, pausing when she picked up an empty candy wrapper. I don't take Jack for a candy-loving monster. I would expect maybe a sharp and snaggle-tooth sweets are a bit too much for a cannibal. With that said, I feel like I have been in this situation similar a few weeks ago. I just can't put my finger on it. Or talon. Whatever, you get the point. So he is here. Jack Jack placed a hand over the eye holes of his mask, clenching the bridge of where his nose would be stiffly. Out of everyone, it had to be him. Sally patted Jack's back, nodding her head in agreement. At least we know who it is, and you know what he smells like. We can find him first, get some info, and kick him out. Jack chuckled deeply. I actually agree with you. I don't want to spend time with that lunatic more than I have to. Seed and I removed ourselves from the door, allowing the two to exit the office. Jack patted Seed on the nose, rubbing the leather over Seed's face attentively. Thanks, Seed. You did good. We passed many rooms as we continued, more holding an office space, some, however, bare, dark, containing only rubble from the trashed ceiling. Everything we thought the interior would look like from the outside. It does not seem to matter what hall we turned down. They all look the same, but nothing but walls and doors. Then I smelt it. A sickly sweet scent, like sticking your nose into a bag of candies and inhaling the powder like crack. Disgusting, really. Excuse you? Like Seed, I pushed past the group, twisting around Sally as to not offend her, as Seed had. The two are surprised by my attentiveness, but followed me off the path and into another hall. I see. Seems Fuzzball found him before us. Jack trotted up beside me, now knowing the destination himself. We both stopped at the same door. The odor is wafting off of the door frame. Sally scrunched her nose, now able to smell the stenches herself. Yep, that's Jack all right. Jack hesitated when opening the door. His ears perked up. Seed noticed his hesitation, his top lip pulling back into a quiet snarl. I could not feel anything weird, smell, or hear anything different. It did not last long. A loud, heinous laugh assaulted my eardrums. A joyous sound, so unordinary, it's comical. It kind of traumatizing. Jack glanced at Sally, who in turn raised both hands defensively and turned around to stand out of the way. You two ready? Jack placed his hands on the door, not waiting for a response as he flung the door inward with a great force. The hardwood shattered against the wall on impact, the top hinge breaking from the doorframe. Three professional-looking gentlemen in black stood wide-eyed and frozen in the middle of the semi-empty room, their mouths agape. I would be stunned too. Some demon guy with two large hellish-looking creatures behind him. I'd shit my pants. These three strangers surrounded a cast iron table, someone or something strapped securely flat against its cold top. I am at an angle where I can only make out a pair of large black buckled shoes and a large amount of stuffing discarded on the floor. One of the men stumbled as Jack charged. I had thought this would be over quick, but decided that may not be the case when Jack's body collided with the wall. The older-looking gentleman stood tall with a silvery rosary brandished on his hand. It glowed brilliantly, so bright I could not decipher if it was white or gold. The transparent light enveloped like a shield-like shape, blocking Jack and throwing him back. The older man stood firm, seriousness written in his expression. He is not taking us lightly, either expecting or preparing for something like this should it happen. I squinted my eyes at the man, just barely making out a white band around his collar. A priest, in this day and age? But what? Seed flew back as well, his body sliding again beside Jack, who struggles to get to his feet, numbed by whatever that shocked him so. Back, you beast! The old man stepped forward. He is weary, but also determined to fulfill his task. I will not stop you here. Excuse me. That was so bad. I will stop you here before you can cause any more harm. Wow. On closer inspection, this guy's a total dilf. Girl. His gold locks fell gray over his sideburns. A dazzling cross, piercing the size of a fingernail, hung loosely on his ear. His bright silver eyes glared with such fury, I could faint. I think a new door has opened for me. What? However, my personal feelings won't deter the aggression. The two other apprentices followed their superior, holding carefully carved wooden crosses before themselves. One young apprentice got cocky, rushing past the older man with confidence. I don't know if it was witnessing the quick defeat of my companions or the overwhelming sense of superiority, but it did give me quite the startle. I flinched back as the glowing cross touched my being, expecting it to be launched back all the same. The only thing I felt is my attacker's face rigiding off my fluffy chest. No harm received, but left quite confused. I'm not the only one. The man on the floor scrambled to his feet, pressing the cross firmly against me multiple times before giving up and staring at me wide-eyed from the ground. Ah, that's right. Both Seed Eater and Jack are considered demonic, or in supernatural spectrum. I, however, am neither. I don't know what I am, but I have no relation to anything considered an enemy of God. Black magic, maybe, but I don't carry the sin or responsibility of said action. I am merely a human in the shape of a beast. Not to mention I have not killed anyone. Intentionally. I see. The older man's gaze is blank, a thought drifting through his mind. A sad soul you are. But if you are with them, I cannot prevent you to run free. Fine, then. I raised a clawed hand, my focus on the incapacitated priest in front of me. No, don't! The old priest yelled, holding back his other apprentice from rushing over. With one swift swipe, the cross flew out of the carrier's hand. I smile at the three who are stunned into silence, their minds trying to catch up to a false threat. A swear is cut from the man before me, his limbs squirming to get him to his feet, only to be knocked down again by Jack. Jack's body trembled, still weakened, and a whole lot of anger. His scalpel lay forgotten on the floor below. Jack didn't need it. He ripped the priest's arm off with nothing but his hands. It's a spectacle to watch. A man being torn from limb by a monster. The sound is indescribable. A close relation to wet cardboard, besides the horrendous, mortified cries from the observers. Jack doesn't look like he did this often, but is professional enough to avoid the hassle of breaking bones and opt to tear from the tendons and sockets instead. The older priest's expression hardened. He closed his eyes and turned away, knowing it is too late to do anything for his junior. His living apprentice cried out, pushing the arm that restrained him. For a priest, he is bloodthirsty. Boo. Both men jumped back, stumbling as Sally's face appeared mere inches from their own. She laughed childishly, giggling at the cold glare she got in return for her prank. Her body extended off the floor, her hair waving around as though expended in water. Her face became serious, her eyes taking a sleet white. I gasped as her head cracked to a full 30 degrees. Blood flowed furiously from her scalp, her mouth extended inhumanly possible. She shrieked, an ear-piercing sound, distorted and hollow, forcing the men to cover their ears. The youngest, being naive and foolish, dropped the only protection he had against us. Seed didn't wait. The priest is pushed to the ground so fast for the older gentleman to comprehend. He watched in horror, losing two despicles so quick before his eyes. He turned away again, his jaw tightening. He understands he has no chance against the four of us alone. Being the blockade for the door, I am the one he sought out. Not to fight necessarily, but to use his best efforts to get around me. Swifting to the left, I jammed my hip into his torso. He staggered from the heavy shove, but stayed on his feet. He seems uneasy with my gaze. Sweat dripping from below his brow to his chin in pints. How come let an old man through? Oh, excuse me. How come? Come now, let an old man through. His smile is forced. Concerned, his lip twitched with anxiety. I snorted at him, pointing with a clawed finger in his direction before dragging it across the floor. The line is jagged, but my point is made. Do not cross the line. I am being passive here. Take my goodwill so I don't become a murderer. Of course, it does not take a genius to know that if you don't cross the line, you will be killed regardless. I just don't want any blood on my hands. But the guy wants to take his chances. 1 against 3 is not a favorable situation. The priest came at me, empty-handed. I stationed myself ready to knock him back once more. 3 feet away from me he dropped, feet forward, and gracefully slid himself between my legs. I looked after him, watching stunned as he maneuvered the full length of my body, collecting himself swiftly before bolting out of the door and out of sight. Shit! I won't you get away, you son of a... It's okay, Pom-Pom. Sally stopped me at the door. She pats my head. We can get him later. We came here for something else. Jack patted dust from his sweater. She is right. He can't hide from us. Not a lot of churches in these parts. For now, let's deal with him. Oh, come on, Jack. You love me. The man on the table sang wholeheartedly, despite having been cut open from his ribs to his hips. Laying strapped down to the table is an elongated clown, no color on his form whatsoever. Stuffing stuck out from his body, some white fluff stained in an odd shade of dried red. He wore a grotesque smile, flashing our group with a stunningly sharp teeth too large for his mouth. His gums are pale. His lips are black. His nose curled long and pointy, and his eyes have a nerve-wracking dead stare. Goth clown. It's a goddamn goth clown. I took a few steps behind Seed, who raised a brow to my behavior. Never been fond of clowns. There has always been something unsettling about a person being so overly happy. Guess that candy crack has something to do with it. I'll clown snort that shit. Jack groans, unfastening the leather restraints as fast as he can, cutting a few with his claws when he felt it has taken for too long. Still laughing. Still laughing? Spill laughing? How did you end up in this place? I said that so wrong, but it's okay. Sally placed her hands on her hips, leaning forward with a frown. You of all things should be impossible to catch. Right? Quite the predicament, one moment. I am enjoying a lovely party next. I am sucked into a little lick... Right? Quite the predicament. One moment, I'm enjoying a lovely party. Next, I'm sucked into a box like Ghostbusters. Rubbed his wrist free, chuckling as he stuffed what little fluffy innards lay about. Perhaps that old man is a little sore about it. His daughter, then, I imagined. I nearly screamed as he joyfully hopped off the table. Though his form is dreadfully hunched, as he is half as tall as Slenderman, his arms dangled a foot from the ground. This guy is nightmare fuel. Oh, who do we have here? Get a new little pet, Sally, dear? Oh, have you got a oh so lonely without me? He touched his chest, tilting his head with finned charm. Jack growls, laughing Jack. Now is not the time. We are here to take this place down. Slender orders. Fine. No one around here is any fun. Some old guys running to show that really don't like me. As much as you can imagine. Laughing tapped his chin. Ah, yes, a little warning. I know. How generous of me to give you a warning. They most definitely know you're here, or at least coming. Sally sighs, kicking a ball of cotton on the ground. Of course they do. We never get the easy missions. She pouts, crossing her arms in a sulk. I nudge her with my face. 60 years and stuck in the mindset of an 8-year-old. Other Jack's words are worrying, though. There is no doubt that there's going to be an ambush waiting, and there is no way of avoiding it. Now then, I'm feeling humbled by Bye, y'all. What the heck does this mean? Oh my gosh. This is me just translating this in my brain. Now then, I'm feeling humbled by your wholehearted action in my release, that I shall join you in this merry band of inhumans. Laughing cracked his back as he stood straight, lifting his long arms to branding his claw-like fingers. Yeah, no, we're good. Jack's words are blank. No hint of sympathy as he says what's on his mind. We don't want you here. Who knows what stunt you could pull on us? Seed no like. You go. Seed follows his owner's actions, shifting on his feet. You give Seed bad food. You bad. Sally also shook her head, huffing and puffing out her cheeks. Laughing looked to me next. I froze under his gaze, but didn't also not want this. Did not want this clown present. I would be too distracted to do anything mission-wise. I turned away from him. Laughing's posture sagged. His spine cracked as he twisted in an angle. He raised an arm over his eyes as he presented to wipe a tear from his face. Woe is me! Poor Jack can't get any love. All he wished to do was help. His posture straightens quickly. He shrugs his shoulders. Such a shame that. He laughs, a long drawn-out fit for someone without the need to breathe. Off I go then. Come join me for a party when you are done. Sally dear, the new candies I created are to die for. The clown's form vanished before my eyes in a deep puff of charcoal mist, acting as though he had not the faintest interest in repayment in the first place. Keep dreaming, creep. Sally stuck her tongue out at the empty space, spinning on her heels to re-enter the hall. There's only one place left to go now, with an expected ambush potentially around any corner. Are we going to be okay, Jack? Sally looked up at the taller man, her mouth stretched into a thin line. Will you guys be okay? I can't get hurt. Jack sighs, wiping excess tar from his mask and rubbing it down the sleeves of Sally's pink dress. The girl screamed, horrified at the man's actions. She repeatedly asked why he would do such a thing. You can get hurt if you continue to manifest your physical form. Don't waste your energy like that. But then I can't open the door or pick things up. Worst of all, I can't hug Pom-Pom. She wrapped her arms around my neck, dangling from my body as I walked forward. I want to laugh, but the presence at the end of the hall distracts me. Seed, worried. The hair on Seed's back bristled. His head dropped low in defense. There is indeed a lot of people behind that door. A lot of smells. Some not belonging to living organisms. So many vigilantes gathered together to stop 4 entities from crossing them. Every one of them probably waiting with bated breath for the door to burst open. Jack placed a hand on the solid wood. He hesitated, lifting his head with a sound of realization. He turns to me, nodding. Fuzzball, you mind being our tank? Jack, you want Pom-Pom to be a shield? Sally's grip tightened. I looked at Jack with betrayal. Of course not. Fuzzball is impenetrable. Remember when I told you that he deflected that bullet? It's a tank with legs. Jack stepped aside, offering the space before the door. He is not wrong. At the time, I had a hunch that it seemed to be far-fetched to consider. Then I was shot again while helping Seed and came out unscathed. Then Jeff tried to stab me. It's too many coincidences to not play with the idea. So I voluntarily put myself in the line of fire should such a scenario occur, taking the spot before the door and preparing myself for the worst of the worst. With a deep inhale, I pushed against the hard surface. Pulling the screws out of the hinges off the wall, the door fell forward. My body is ready. I closed my eyes. Silence. I squint, staring blankly at the dark, deserted room. Not a shred of light to allow my superior night vision the privilege of light. I would be convinced that there had not been the lingering scent. The others thought the same. They stayed behind me as I venture forth. It's not like we can back out despite knowing what is bound to happen. As we approached the center of the room, the lights clanged to life, enveloping the area in a harsh white light. The suddenness left us blind. My eyes burned, ears ringing, the colorful sparkles enveloping my vision with taunting shine. Welcome, you all finally arrived. I was beginning to think this setup was all for naught. This voice is familiar. It sends a bolt of animosity throughout my body. I snarl, an involuntary hostile gesture appreciated for times like this. Jack and Seed mimic my aggression, perhaps with more intensity. As my vision returned, I am greeted with multiple armed forces. Plenty on ground level with us, while even more lined the industrial catwalk. The fucker standing in the middle of the rows is that fucker who I met in the first night I moved into the woods, who ambushed Jack and I, and who imprisoned Seed Eater in a rich dick's garage. You motherfucking old piece of shit. We meet again, Alice. I see you found your pet. I want to apologize for the misunderstanding during the first encounter. The old fucker bowed, showing us the fake smiles I've ever seen. My name is Steve Akins, a displeaser. You! Jack blinked his teeth, his claws digging into his palm. Seed hissed, his upper muzzle splitting up the stitched seam. He clattered his jaw, drool stringing down his fleshy gums. Sally glanced around, having no knowledge as to why her party is hostile to a single person in the room. She's like, well, what happening? Anyways, the old man chuckles, flashing his teeth before his expression flattens. I'm afraid we don't have time to chat. Lots to do. Creatures to kill and all. He nods, pointing at us as though he is slicing his dog. He's sissing his dog on a fox. Kill them. None of my group had to say anything. We split off our circle quickly. Half the forces used automatic weaponry with the aim of a stormtrooper. They fired a large number of rounds, yet 5 or 6 ever made it to my body. Seed and Jack had no problem dodging the massive projectiles soldiering through the few that managed to strike their bodies. The two worked separately, taking down plenty of the armed staff. They stayed close to one another, keeping an eye on the other's condition should they have to step in. Sally, on the other hand, didn't care much about the situation. She had no worry about the solid objects, such as Spectre, though she is no help regarding incapitization the enemy, as she is unable to touch anything without phasing through. She did try to meditate, disarm, or distract where she is needed. I watched her startle a young man so bad he turned around to shoot, only to hit the guy next to him. Truly a spectacle. Of course, for me, they did slide off my back like water. I am able to focus on trampling those around me, knocking them out of the way. Unfortunately, I misstepped. I could not move my foot out of the way, and the guy took my full weight into his ribcage. My foot fell through like ice. His bones crunched. His vital organs squished between my toes like jam in a jam-like manner. I would not slow myself, continuing my gallop around the gym with his body shoed to my foot before finally peeling off. And that's the story of how I killed my first rebel. And another unintentional death. But I definitely had not been careful about it. I shudder at the feeling of chunky fluids clinging to my feet, preoccupied with watching the red talon prints trailing behind me. Jack laughed, a deep, gurgle noise. You see, kid? Fat, not fluffy. Lies! Sally didn't flinch as the butt of a gun is swung through her. Didn't blink as Seed tore him apart while she argued with Jack. You wouldn't know better, Jack. You're blind. I wasn't always blind. Jeez, I don't have the time, nor the crayons to explain this to you. Jack flips away from the axe end of a halberd. Small, cleanly cut ends of his hair fluttered to the floor. Aren't you one bear of a man? A large, armored man sneered before Jack. He cockily twirled his halberd onto his shoulder. And aren't you an ugly freak? Jack scoffed. A mouth on you, too. The man spat, swifting his feet apart, crouching into a fighting stance. Come at me, shorty. I wanna gut you. Nope. Like, nope. No, I say no to this. Jack sprinted in the opposite direction, leaving the man baffled and fuming. He sprinted after his appointment. Seed, fuzzball, I'm tapping out. Jack changed direction to the path between Seed and I, aiming for the head of the man's name, Steve. I knocked the guy I have in my jaws to the ground, shifting my attention to Seed, who gave me a nod. The two of us charged, plowing past Jack and cutting off all his pursuers. My body slammed into a big man's chest, pushing him back with as much force as my legs can give me. Yet the human managed to force me back, pushing me in raging pursuit. Seed jumped up, clamming his jaws around his wrist, growling and thrashing with the aggression of a rabid dog. The man yelled in anger, his face beet red and tarnished. He flung his trapped arm with all of his might, dislodging Seed Eater with his own weight. He took a hold of the scruff of my neck, forcing my head to lower to the ground. As I put as much strength to my forearms as I can only manage to hinder his actions briefly. My arms are wobbling, my face nearly kissing the hardwood. My body is running on sheer spite for the ass forcing me to the ground. See, try to counter, to assist me in some way. But damn is this guy good at swinging at a halberd. Seed hurls through the air with a single swing. The beast is frustrated with this fact. His mass is something he can usually use to hinder plenty of opponents, but to be beaten back so easily by a human is degrading in his mind. I can almost make out Jack disappearing with Stephen to the back of the building. At the very least, the two of us managed to buy him some time. Sally dispatched the last few staff members, leaving this one guy to distract while Jack does his job. My arms gave out. My head collided to the ground harshly. The man presses the heel of his boot over my neck, triumphantly smiling as he raises his weapon over his head. My only hope right now is that this body doesn't just reflect bullets, but negates sharp objects too. The man freezes upon hearing childish laughter, glancing around before looking at his hands, his weapon freed from his grasp. What the fuck? You think this is fucking funny, you bitch. Sally's body materializes in the air, the halberd weightlessly tethering in her grasp. Language, mister. You never know who can hear you. Her childness instantly wipes off her face, becoming cold. If you would kindly remove your filthy foot from my cutie's neck, I may just return this to you. Try again, you brat. He reaches into his jumper. He waves a magnum at her teasingly. A Taurus judge, to be precise, mocking her failed distraction. Seed squeals, biting into the man's armed wrist once again. He held onto it as tight as he could, but with a groan, the man ripped him free, leaving him detangling the 3 feet off the ground. Relax, you little brat. I'll let you have a taste next. How many times have I had a gun in my face this year? I guess I can add another hash to my wall. I can hardly hear Sally panicking in the background, or the tearing of Seed's claws as he hopelessly tore into the man's skin. There's just me, the barrel, and a smiling psychotic asshole. It took a moment for the pain to hit, another moment for my consciousness to return. I could not control the sound coming from my mouth. Ears clattering, shrieking as blood gushed from my right eye. A single bullet from that magnum at this close range shattered a fist-sized hole into my mask, piercing through the material and making itself home in my eye socket. I have never experienced such a burning sensation, a feeling when your mind knows something is lost and is acting accordingly to keep the rest of my body from going into shock. It's terrifying, numbing, leaves the brain to bring up the worst possible scenario. The pressure is removed from my head. My surroundings begin to return to me. I can vaguely hear my heart in my chest, air filling my lungs, more noticeably the shrill cries from Seed Eater. Not free from the man's grasp, he crushes the man's previously armed hand between his teeth, crushing the digits with little effort and refuses to release as the man screamed and tugged at his scruff. The world spins as I stumble, trying to raise my feet. Sally's face is the first to vividly envelop my sight. Her face held worry, divided. She breathed a sigh after noticing my consciousness. Pom Pom, you need to find Jack. CD and I will take care of this meanie. I can't get a sound out, answering her with a simple nod. I can do nothing but saunter the direction and that guy ran, not minding the bodies scattered around my feet, crushing limbs and kicking the dead, threatening to trip me. The stairs to the higher level is difficult to find due to my poor vision. I cannot concentrate because of the noise coming from the fighting behind me. My good eye finds the steady dripping red liquid from its second half more important than where my feet should be placed, gluing my sight to the droplets scattered on each and every step. Jack is easy to find. He caught up to his nemesis quickly. From the disarray, the guy put up a good fight, lasting long enough for me to join the finishing scene. Jack held Steve's throat, straddling his waist on the ground to keep him from moving. His breath is ragged, mask discarded. His elbow is the only thing keeping a blade from penetrating any deeper into his ribs. Steve is trying to dig the blade in. He twists and prodded, ignored by his assailant, his free hand pushing harshly at Jack's face. His thumb nearly chewed off its strain in Jack's mouth, his pointer digging viciously into Jack's empty socket. Both looked drained. I didn't want to intrude, so I stayed behind the door that's slightly ajar, watching the final climax of my story. You think you can get away forever, don't you? You and your little friends. Steve laughs. We will be caught eventually. Every last one of you. If not me, then someone else. Jack is not fazed by the man's word, partially because he knows they are true. But one day is not today, and when that day comes, he will be long gone. You should have known better than to mess with what you don't understand. A crooked smile formed on Steve's face, his complexion turning blue. Perhaps, but where's the fun in that? Jack bared his teeth, tightening his grip. He snarls as he stares into Steve's unregretting eyes. With one notion, Jack repelled the knife out of the loosened grip, placing both hands firmly around the man's neck. I waited for the sickening snap, expecting Jack to finish up with a broken neck. Instead, Jack raised the man's head off the ground. I flinched as he forced his head against the tile-plated floor. A few thuds, a quick crack. The rest is a series of soaked paper towel dropped onto the floor. I waited for Jack to get to his feet. When he did not, I pushed the door open and entered the room. Jack shook at my sudden presence, rubbing his sore socket with his palm. Jeez, Fuzzball gave me a startle. What the hell happened to your eye? Jack removed what remained of my mask, disregarding it to the side so he can examine my face. I'll patch you up when we get back. Sorry to say, but I don't think you have much of an eye left. But don't worry, monsters with scars get all the attention. Just what I've always wanted. I scoff, examining Jack's handiwork suctioned to the floor. Not much left of the guy but his face. What's left of it, anyway. Come on. Jack wiped his bloody hands against his black track pants, searching around the room for his lost mask. Mission done. I don't know about you, but I could go for a nap. A purr rumbled up my throat. God, does that word bring up euphoria. I followed Jack down the stairs, almost tripping on a step on descent. Seed Eater did not release much of his anger of that big bear guy. Though he lay dead, Seed has yet to stop pulling his body apart. I like to think it is for my sake, but revenge for his wounded pride is more believable. All done? Sally floated to her feet. skipping up to the two of us with a newly relaxed expression. We can go home now, right? Almost. We have to burn every and all paper in this building. We can't afford to go through all this effort just to go missing something. Seed looked up to me, his face stained blood from his snout to his forehead. He sidestepped to make room, gently patting the floor beside him, an invite to devour the fucker who shot me. I am not passing that up. Shelly groans. Guess it's just you and me. I wish I could use a shot to the face as an excuse to eat. Maybe one day, Sal. But you ain't never gonna get shot, girl. I mean, maybe if you like physically like use your energy to physically like update yourself, if that makes sense. Oh, that doesn't make no fucking sense. I am so sorry, y'all. I was like, update yourself, like Android, you know what that is. But well, anyways, guys, I had to cut it short, but that is Mission of West slash Western. These are pretty long chapters, I ain't gonna lie to you, but it is really good. So it's official that I think they said our right eye is officially gone, pretty much. We won't be able to see out of that eye anymore. So I feel like it is important detail because I don't think they mention it after a certain amount of time of the story. So, like an example, if you were to draw this character, you would want to add that detail, that certain eye. So, if you were looking for that detail, I'd suggest you specifically look into Western and go some paragraphs down, and you might most likely find it. So yeah, if you guys were to draw this character, this would probably be like a kind of good detail of them. It's just, it's stuff you have to like listen to and take note of as it goes. So I mean that's how it is. Anyways, let me know what you guys think is gonna happen in the Northern chapters that are coming up very soon when I make another video of this series, because they're gonna be also very, very long. I don't know who's exactly gonna be in Northern, but it might still be Eilish Jack, but I'm not sure if it's gonna still be him or it's just gonna be us with some two other people that we know. I'm not honestly too sure about that, but we shall find out in the next chapter. But anyways, let me know who you guys think will be coming with us in the next North chapters coming up. My guess, because I'm just guessing at this point, I'm guessing it's going to be obviously us, Cedar, Alice Jack, and maybe Laughing Jack potentially. I don't know. I think he'd be an interesting character. A little bit hard to read because honestly, if you read this guy, how this guy talks, it is a little harder for me to read because it's like I have to like literally look at it, understand it, process it through my brain, and then spit it out to where everyone understands and comprendes. But it was a little hard because I was like, wait, I did not know that his. It was a little confusing, but yeah, now you know, guys know that Laughing Jack is a weird, sweet talker. Get it? Sweet talker? Okay, but anyways, I do hope you guys did enjoy this. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more amazing videos, guys. This story is getting more and more amazing, and sadly, we're gonna like look at this. We only have like a couple chapters left. Well, not a couple. We probably have like about 7 chapters left. That's crazy. And then we got about. Well, we don't need to talk about that. We don't need to talk about that because we're not there yet. We are not there yet. So we shall talk about that in the maybe next after series. Who we will not know. We will not know. Anyways, guys, I shall see you on the next futuristic video. Bye and peace.